Well, the graphic novel approach, we didn't start out with that concept for this particular project. We had wanted to do a story that had a graphic novel approach for almost a couple of years now. When Danny Roberts came up with this story for Doctors and Sex Abuse, we knew that it would be difficult to come up with visuals, it would be difficult to come up with photos. This graphic novel approach really just kind of married itself right with this project, and that's how we came up with the concept. When you look at a graphic novel, the lighting is very dramatic, the subject matter is very dramatic, and there's a lot of artistic licenses that artists take to kind of help tell the story. Well, here, because of the paper's credibility and the sensitive nature of the story, I had to, as an artist, I had to tone that down. And it took me a little bit of time to really develop my own personal style and sort of find that unique balance to where we are visually retelling a story, but we're not over dramatizing the story. My process for drawing, it starts with very early conversations with the writers and the editors. And so after reading through the entire story, no matter what stage it's in, it could be a very rough draft, it could go through 2 or 3 versions of it. After reading through it, that's when my visuals really start coming together. And from there, that's when I start sketching out very rough sketches. For the next phase of this story, we're going to talk about whether this is an illness or a crime with what doctors are doing. And so trying to come up with a concept, my first idea was someone in handcuffs. Well, after I did that sketch, I started thinking about, sometimes doctors have their hands together and they're holding a stethoscope. With each sketch or each iteration, I add more and more detail, whether it's a wrinkle in a shirt, whether it's the type of handcuff someone is wearing, the type of stethoscope, hand position. I redo iterations of that until I'm happy with the final composition, the angle, and the lighting. From there, I do a very tight, very detailed ink drawing of that, scan that into the computer, and that's when I use Photoshop to do my coloring. As an artist, a lot of my own personal experience is poured into my artwork. In January of 2015, I was diagnosed with stage 3 colorectal cancer. And this was around the time we had started talking about this entire project. During my treatment, I had several doctor's visits. I did a personal journal, so that I could keep count of my entire experience of dealing with cancer treatment. And what I really realized was I was actually taking notes that was going to help me with all of my artwork for this entire project. I took note of color, whether it was the exam gown I had to put on, or whether it was the plastic gloves that doctors wore, to the flowers that a receptionist had on their desk, to what the nurses' scrub colors was. And so that entire experience of going through treatment, I poured a lot of that into my artwork. And going through treatment, it also gave me a very unique perspective as far as what patients go through. The vulnerability we feel, as well as the amount of trust that we give doctors. And that I did my absolute best to put into my artwork.